Hi, I'm Charlie Brose. I'm here with Mark Knutson, and welcome to Disability Landscape. Mark, who do we have today?
Today we're going to be talking with Gene Martinez. He is with ARC of Minnesota, and I'll have him give him his title, but essentially he's involved with the legislative policymaker. And Gene, I will let you give your official title on that.
Okay, I'm the Legislative Advocacy Coordinator for the ARC Minnesota.
Okay.
Okay.
And then as far as, why don't you give a little description about ARC?
Sure. We are a statewide advocacy organization for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay.
Okay.
And we've been around since the late 40s.
Wow.
We've got regional offices in Rochester and Mankato and St. Cloud,
Okay.
and Moorhead.
Oh,
and,
Moorhead, okay.
And then we work very closely with the ARC Northland in Duluth.
Okay, I just learned something here because I didn't realize ARC was just for advocacy, legislative advocacy, and that.
Well, we do, we offer planning services, and we have a master pooled trust.
Oh.
So we offer services outside of legislative advocacy.
You do that? Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I was
we also assist people with individual advocacy, navigating the human services system or individual education plans through IDEA, that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Very cool. Now, you're also part of an initiative called Rev Up to get more people with disabilities basically out to vote and, exercise their right to vote. What can you tell us about the Rev Up program?
Yeah, Rev Up. Rev Up was started in actually in 2016. Rev Up America was started, and that is an initiative of the American Association of Persons with Disabilities, more commonly referred to as AAPD.
Oh.
People probably have seen, emails or things from them.
Okay.
And the purpose of Rev Up was to increase the percentage of persons with disabilities and their family members that would become involved in the electoral process and vote and do engagement with candidates.
Okay.
And so in 2018, the ARC Minnesota led an effort to kind of establish a Minnesota affiliate of Rev Up America.
Okay.
And so we did work related to celebrating National Disability Voter Registration Week, which is always the third week in July.
Okay.
And we did some joint social media and voter registration and a candidate questionnaire and also some candidate forums. And so we've gotten reconstituted again in 2020, and we're hard at work. We commented on the Secretary of State's policy bill that actually did pass through the legislature that had a number of things in there to promote early voting and make it easier to not have to necessarily go to the polling station. And then we again celebrated National Disability Voter Registration Week, and we had a virtual town hall with Secretary Simon and Secretary of State staff on July 16th. And that was all about the options for persons with disabilities to register and to vote, and how COVID-19 was affecting the whole voting landscape.
Yeah.
And so since that virtual town hall, we have been planning candidate forums, and what we're choosing to do is we're going to try and organize candidate forums in each of the 8 congressional districts for the candidates running for Congress in those areas. So we have 8 different organizations now that are working through those congressional districts, and they're sending out invites to the candidates, and we're hoping to schedule those candidate forums from like the week of September 13th through the week of October 25th.
Okay.
So
people have enough time to really hear the candidates before they hopefully will, in many cases, probably mail their ballots this year.
yes, So yeah, we're just
So kind of getting now into the nuts and bolts, because, state and federal laws require that polling places be accessible, for all disability, and that means everyone should be able to enter and exit without barriers and vote. And of course, this time around with COVID, the pandemic is having a major impact on elections. What can you say to, if someone gets there and something isn't accessible, what should they do? I mean, absentee would be the best one, but
Right.
if they do go in to vote.
Yeah, there will be a number over at the Minnesota Secretary of State's office that
Okay.
people can call. And it's also possible to just get some advice from the Disability Law Center. They are going to have their switchboards open to, maybe answer questions about accessibility issues. But the Minnesota Secretary of State, they can send staff to a polling place, in some circumstances to investigate a situation, and so they are prepared to help, address those issues and get them resolved.
Yeah, because I know for the last couple elections, I did the early voting where I went like 2 weeks ahead of time down wherever, for me, I live in Scott County, so I went to Scott County and I just did the voting there this year. Now, of course, with COVID, I think I might, I'll probably just do the absentee in that. So.
The mail-in ballot, yeah.
Mail-in, well, I would advise you to request that absentee ballot right away, and also once you get your absentee ballot, mail it back right away. Mail it back at least 2 weeks before the general election, or in some circumstances you can bring back your completed absentee ballot to your local elections office and drop it off there.
A drop-off area.
Right.
That's what I think. That's the route I know I'll probably be doing, is getting the absentee, and I think I'm just going to physically go drop it off, so it doesn't have to be involved in the post office thing. We're not here to get into that. But that you got to do what you feel is required, and to make sure you are heard.
Right.
And clarify, Minnesota is a no excuse absentee ballot state, correct?
Yes, we have been no excuse for a number of years now, and so you do not have to have any, it's not like you have to be out of the precinct or give any reason or explanation. Everybody has the right to vote absentee, and I believe the balloting period will begin on September 18th. Okay. So from that date on, you can start completing a ballot and sending it back in.
Do you know what the latest date that a absentee ballot can be requested?
There has to be enough time for them to mail it to you, and so I think that they could still send it. Just with several days left, but you need to have your ballot postmarked by election day.
Okay.
So it could arrive a few days after election day and still be counted, but to be on the safe side, people should, as soon as they're able to, request that absentee ballot.
Okay.
And then one question is raised with people with disabilities is, can they be barred from voting? I mean, they obviously can't, but if they have like an intellectual disability or something related to that, what do they need to do to have assistance at the
Right,
polling?
In that vein, is there a threshold in an intellectual disability
Right.
where they would not be able to vote?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
'Cause
the law.
you can't be barred if you're disabled.
Right, the law is very clear on that. Unless it states in your guardianship papers, and you have to be under guardianship
Sure.
before this would even apply, but unless it prohibits you from voting in your guardianship papers, you have the right to vote.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it has to be very clearly stated in your guardianship papers that you're not capable of voting. Otherwise, you do have the right to vote.
Okay.
Is
And-
that something that if someone has that piece of paper, would they have a piece of paper saying that they have the right to? I'm just wondering if there's a mix-up
Right.
at the polling place. Do you need documentation to show that you are eligible to vote?
Normally you wouldn't, but if you, if you had your guardianship papers and you could show that there's no restriction on your
No
right to vote.
restriction, yeah,
The
exactly.
other thing is, regardless of whether you have an intellectual or physical disability, you can have a friend or relative, help you fill out the ballot, and
okay.
That kind of assistance can be both at the polling place, but also in your own home if you need somebody to help you with.
The absentee.
Yeah, normally there's a requirement that a witness see you fill out the ballot,
Sure.
and then they sign, and then you return that absentee ballot. However, that was suspended for the primary election, and it has now been suspended by a district court judge for the general election.
Oh,
So
it has, okay.
there's, because of COVID, there's no
Right,
witness requirement.
So, and they still require your counter signature though,
Yes.
and it needs to match close enough to the signature when you requested the ballot, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you do show up at a polling place, you could ask for assistance there, is that correct? Ask. talk to, like,
yes, yes,
talk
there's,
to, like, the head judge or someone who's responsible, that they should have a system in place, someone ready there to assist you, correct?
You can also even, if you have a medical condition that makes it hard for you to get out of the car, you can request what they call curbside voting.
Oh, you can?
And in
Okay.
curbside voting, two election or two poll workers, and usually one's a Democrat and one's
Right,
a
yep,
Republican.
yep.
They will come out to your car. They will give you your ballot. They will witness you fill it out, and then they will return it back inside and put it in, slide it through the scanner,
Yeah.
and have it counted.
Okay.
How does an individual request I assume
Curbside.
you just can't show up and start honking your horn, correct?
Yeah, it might be good to have somebody with you that could then go inside the polling station
I
and
see what
ask
you're
for
saying,
that
yeah.
assistance.
Right.
Or,
Or call.
you could just, if you were by yourself, parked in front of the polling station, you could ask somebody that you saw walking
Walking in, just, "Hey, could you do me a favor?"
do me a favor and
Yep.
go get the election judges.
Right.
I think you probably could toot the horn and they'd come out.
Yeah, they would probably come out, yeah,
yeah.
especially if you're parked in the handicap parking and honking, they would.
I know many of the voter rolls are on a tablets now that they use, those small computers.
Yeah.
Would they need to take that to your curbside to verify that you're registered and such? How would that work? Do you understand?
You know, I think they would. I think they would just bring something out to verify,
Right.
Or they could get your name and then go back in
And then
and,
see if
check
you're
it
on
and
the-
then.
on the roll.
Yeah. The other thing is, though, you can also request an absentee ballot online, so there wouldn't be any signature on that other than your kind of electronic signature,
Okay.
you know, but it's not like a
Right, it's
handwritten
not a
signal.
not a
Yeah.
regular sig.
Right.
We've seen, I've just seen a number of things on verifying absentee ballots, and there's like tracking numbers and such that people can actually go to online to make sure that their ballot is received and counted.
Yes, you can go to your county elections office, or really the Secretary of State's office, and type in some information. The real security in the absentee balloting is that you have to write down your Minnesota driver's license or ID number, which isn't public information.
Sure.
Or the last 4 digits of your social security number.
Okay.
So if somebody were to just, get a hold of your ballot somehow, unless they have that non-public information on the ballot, it's not going to be counted.
Okay,
So,
So there are safety
There-
checks available that,
Yes.
that are going to make sure, as you know, we've heard many claim that, we're just going to stuff the ballot box. Without that proper information, that ballot doesn't count.
exactly, it's not counted. So it really, it really requires that non-public information.
Okay.
And the other thing too is, if you do go and you're filling out the ballot, you make a mistake or something like that, you can always ask for a new one, correct?
Yes, you can.
It's not like you make a mistake, you throw it out and you lose your vote. No, you can ask, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is we have ballot marking machines. And so
Oh,
there's 3 approved kind of brands, you might call them,
Right,
of ballot marking machines. And
Oh.
so depending on which county you live in,
Yeah.
a lot of the counties have a machine called AutoMark, but there were 2 additional manufacturers approved for 2020. But what the ballot marking machine allows people who are blind and might need assistance, or anybody that just doesn't feel like they want to write in their, color in those ovals or whatever. And so you use the ballot marking machine, then it prints out your ballot, and you look at that, and the ballot is just like anybody else's ballot, and then you feed it into the machine on your way
okay.
out the door. So
I see what you're saying. God, it's okay. I thought it was that once you filled it out on the machine, that it was sent. No, it just.
No.
No, I see what you're saying.
It's not,
like you were saying to me, it marks the ballot for you.
It marks the ballot for you, and what's counting is a paper ballot. It's
Is the
not an
actual paper
electronic
ballot, Electronic, yeah.
machines like some
Okay.
states have, where you do just vote on a machine and there's no paper trail and you don't know.
Yeah, because when you first started saying that, that's where my mind went.
So,
And then you said the paper ballot. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah.
so with the ballot marker and the printout, it allows you to also verify that what you put in is correct.
Exactly.
Before you put it into the vote
Right,
meter. So,
exactly,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
All right.
And if there's ever a recount, they'll be able to go back to that paper ballot, like we had
And
with
double
Al
check
Franken and
Yep.
Norm Coleman
yeah.
back in
Right.
2008.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Now, is there a Facebook or a website for Rev Up where people can get more information?
Yes, if you type in the Facebook search engine, just Rev Up MN,
Okay.
you'll find our Facebook page. And we don't have a website yet, but we've got a Facebook page, and we'll be promoting the various agencies that are part of Rev Up.
Okay.
Will be promoting these candidate forums.
And so it has resources, information for people to check out coming up to election day.
It does, and it has like we did a tape of the virtual town hall with Secretary Simon, so you can find that on there too.
And when you had sent me that info about Rev Up Minnesota, I thought that was an initiative that was just here and that, but it's part of a national
Yes.
campaign, correct?
It's
Yeah.
part of a national campaign, and I think they have affiliates now in pretty much every
Yeah,
state.
that's what I was noticing, but
Uh-huh.
for those of us in Minnesota, you want to search for Rev Up
Yes.
MN.
And Rev Up MN. Yep.
Okay.
That way you get all the resources.
Right.
For here, those of us, for everyone in Minnesota.
Right.
So,
Okay. Let's move on to something else that you're involved with, the Capital Connector program. Give us just kind of an overview, what's this all about?
Oh, sure. Well, the Capital Connectors, we call them Capital Connectors teams.
Okay.
And we're starting this initiative to provide kind of an infrastructure for groups of volunteers in each congressional district to deepen personal relationships with elected officials,
Yeah.
but also to develop networking skills amongst themselves. And you might ask, well, hasn't ARC Minnesota always done that? And to some degree, we've always had groups of parents or self-advocates
Yeah.
kind of coming together to work on particular issues. But what we thought would be important to do is to provide sort of a structure for
I agree.
ongoing
Yeah.
grassroots engagement. So,
and I may be wrong on this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll ask you here. With this Capital Connector, I mean, being, it is through ARC, but is it for all, are you trying to connect all disabilities, or more, are you focus on individuals, with intellectual disabilities and that?
well, we're open to the participation of, any person,
Yeah.
whether they have a intellectual or developmental disability or not. Some of the things we might do might be a little bit more focused on intellectual and developmental disabilities, but so much of our work is in conjunction with like Minnesota CCD, and this is Medicaid. So most of our
Which
issues,
crosses over.
Yeah, right.
Into the whole disability.
Exactly.
Because when I saw this one, I took note, because this one, I want to sign up and get involved, because then that, I mean, I hate to admit it, but how many congressional districts does Minnesota have?
Yeah, we have 8 congressional districts
Oh, 8.
right now.
Okay.
And depending on the census, we're right on the cusp of perhaps losing
Oh,
a
we
congressional district. So
Okay.
if people have not filled out the census, please do, because I think if Minnesota traditionally has done a better job of completing the census, and so we may be able to keep our 8th congressional seat if we stick to having a good count in the census.
Because what I like about this too is getting individuals involved, no matter what type of the disability. Because like we just said, we all have a lot of crossover
Exactly.
issues, accessibility, funds, and we
Right.
all come under the umbrella. We all got to stick together and be a voice at the Capitol.
Exactly.
That's
And-
that's really what it comes down to. Doesn't matter what our disability is. We all got to be heard. We got to reach out to them so they know how many people are out there with disabilities. I'm sure you run into a lot. Legislatures, Congress, whatever. They're probably surprised of the number of people who are actually disabled, because generally people look and they look for the telltale signs of physical disability. But you could be in a room of people who've got those hidden disabilities, and you wouldn't even know. But they still, if it's physical or invisible, we all still have the same issues: healthcare, accessibility, and that. So, yeah,
Right.
this really caught my eye, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Because I just recently started going, which I enjoy going to, Tuesdays at the Capitol.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, when the legislature is meeting, because, that's what I was gonna get to, is because what's nice is bringing all those people together. When they have the day, they have like disability awareness or disability service day.
Disability Day at the Capitol, yeah.
Yeah, disability day, that was, for me, that was very powerful, being in the rotunda and just seeing floors of disabled individuals and hearing legislators who came out and spoke, and one of them, which I didn't realize, one of them is in a wheelchair and that, so.
Right, right. Well, and we've had to do a little bit of a shift in terms of having virtual events. But,
Right,
But
yeah,
one thing
yeah.
we discovered to our surprise is that doing some of our work virtually, we've actually had more people participate than when
That's
we
what I
were
was just thinking
doing
when you
it
said that.
in person.
Yeah, because more people can get involved that way.
Right. So like the Homes for All Coalition, and we work with them to advocate for affordable housing. They had a rally in May that I think had over like 500 people attend on Zoom. You know, it was entirely on Zoom. So
Well, I'll let Charlie wrap up. I just want to say thank you, Gene. You definitely were able to fill the time. At first I thought, how are we going to fill that much time? And it just flew right by. I'll just let Charlie
Gene-
thank again. Thank you.
Gene is always a great guest to have on.
And that's what Charlie told me.
And if you get started about talking about healthcare, you've set aside an hour.
That's probably going to be another show.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a show on health, just on
So,
healthcare.
Gene, it's been a pleasure having you back in the studio. We look forward to doing it again and again because you are a wealth of information. But, for now, thank you.
Okay,
and
thank
we'll
you.
catch you next time.
yeah.
This is Charlie Brose for Disability Landscape. We'll check you next time. Thank you much.